What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you so much for tuning in. It's me, Mikey Pipes. 7 degrees here on Sunday, February 8th, 2026. Heading to an emergency service call in Old Westbury. We got a new residential client that found my video on the Burnham ES2 series boiler. Needs some help. They got no heat in their upper middle class home here in the Gold Coast of Long Island. I got all the parts for the Series 2 boilers by Burnham and most of the other ones as well. Let's get them up and running. That's the goal, the right mentality, and maybe, just maybe, let's secure a maintenance agreement as well so we can come here once a year and do PM on their heating system. You guys ready? Let's go. You gotta love it when they have their own private driveway. Gotta love it. Absolutely gotta love it. All right, folks. Hi, I'm the plumber.
You come on in.
Okay.
I'll call my brother.
Thank you. All right. Burnham Series 2. Probably an 8 or a 10 section boiler. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zones. 2 A.O. Smith from Lowe's 75 gallon water heaters. We have a temperature of 115, 118 degrees. Let's do a visual inspection. Takeo SR506 6-zone switching relay. Looks like we have a thermal expansion tank. Good draft.
I'm a little,
A little technically inclined.
well, I'm an engineer, but
My favorite. All right, so we have this U.S. boiler Burnham Series 2 model 210. This is a 10-section cast iron gas boiler that is 299,000 BTUs of gross input on this 3/4 inch gas. This should be higher, but it is what it is. It's been here for a while. Right now we're getting an error 63 right there. Error 63 is basically, it's a soft lockout. If I were to power cycle this, it's going to ignite and there'll be a prior error before this. So right now, error 63 is a soft lockout because the maximum amount of recycles has exceeded. And listening to the homeowner, always asking the right questions. Before this error 63, we had an error 4, ERR 4. Now, that sometimes is rare, but error 4 is the flame current, which is that the pitot flame generates a small electrical charge, which the system picks up on, and as long as it meets a certain value or voltage, millivolts that is, the system will allow the system to run. But because the error 4 is flame, there you go, flame current lower than threshold, it will give you the error 63 because it's going to keep trying to do that several times before it locks out. So if we were to power cycle this boiler, we got to find the power switch. Right there on the wall. We'll turn that off. Wait 10 seconds. And that also killed that as well. So it's good to be observant of that. We'll flip that back on. All of our zones kick on. We're going to go to STA1, which is standby. And there will be a slight delay, and then it's going to go into the startup cycle. Vent damper opening and closing, the rest of the safety circuits. Then we're going to go into a pre-purge, a spark, and then flame running. And I'd like to see that ERR4 while the system is running. So let's give that a minute. We have an active call, and we are at a low temperature. So the house is kind of warm, but it's not like 7 degrees like it is outside. It is 7 degrees outside, folks. STA 15, waiting for damper to close. There's 5, 4, and 6, spark 7. And now this is what we're going to look for. We're going to press that I button. We're going to go to FLA, which is our flame current value. 743, 894, 94, 103, 11.1, 11.3, 11.9, 12. That's interesting. I would think it would be hardly anything right now. We're 13.4, 13.1. Oh, 13.1. Let's see if it's going down now. 13.4 now. 13.4. Let's go back to STA 8, which is running. And let's see. I do believe I probably heard correct that it runs for a while, then it turns off with that. So let's see how long a while is, and let's see. Let's go back to STA 8. We're still there. Let's go to that FLA, which is 14.9. So it's still kind of strong. But let's watch that. So I am concerned, though, about the boiler pressure, which is like 30 PSI right now, and no drip leg being there on that relief valve. I don't want to get like near that. And you have a 30 PSI relief valve, and you got 2 expansion tanks. Maybe that gauge is wrong, but I can tell you that if this was accurate and that thing opened that pressure with no drip leg, those water heaters are going to get assaulted with hot water. Well, FLA is 16, 15.4, 16, 15.4. Let's go back to STA. I'm still running at 8. When's the last time you had maintenance on this?
A year ago.
Yeah. So, question: you see how some of these burners look clean here, and some of those are dusty? You clean them.
Like last night from your video. So those were the ones I took out to get that pilot.
Yeah, to get to the pilot. Yep.
So
you cleaned the pilot assembly?
Not really like cleaned it. What I did was I couldn't take it out
Yes.
because of those wires.
Correct.
So I took these out, squished it over,
Okay.
and put my hand through with
A little wire brush?
Well, I had some sandpaper. I didn't have a
Okay.
wire brush. So that, and then just did as much as I could.
Understood.
So those were the ones that came out. Those I cleaned. The others, I thought of cleaning, but I was like, let me not mess with it right now when there's a problem going on.
Yeah. So one of a couple things could be going on here. You could have the flame sensor, which is resting inside the pilot assembly. That could be not giving a good flame current, which that's reading. Normally, when I see a flame failure or weak pilot flame, we're going to see values in like 4, 5, 6, 7, and not where we are now, 16, 15, 4, and then it slowly drops out where then the control kills it,
Yeah.
and it prevents it from running because it's like proving there's a pilot.
Yeah.
But there isn't because the flame sensor is dirty. Alternatively, it's the control, that box that senses that. If there's a grounding issue, that can also be a problem. But this is an established boiler. It's probably installed in 2018, maybe 2019, because it was manufactured in October 2017. But if the boiler was serviced last year and cleaned properly,
I don't think they cleaned it that well.
oh no, okay.
You know what it is? You have these companies come in and they say we serviced it.
Yeah.
You never know what they do. We're not on top of them.
Yeah.
Like,
You know what I find fascinating is that the this entire manifold assembly, for lack of better words, the supply header, looks like they added this to hold it up, right? Instead of maybe putting like a piece of hanging material here.
Yeah.
But this is just the cabinet, and you can see it's dented in. It's
Yeah.
the weight, and this is heavy, by the way.
Yeah.
This is heavy, but the weight of all of this is resting on that T and that cap resting on top of the boiler. Like, if you're going to be a hack, at least put it like right here, so there's some meat on the bones for it to hold on to. But they could have easily. Oh man, it's like there's a beam right here. They could have easily have hung it from the beam there, and with a piece of threaded rod. Yeah, it would have been perfect. But
So we moved in right.
it came with the house.
Yeah, right when they.
By the way, I love your driveway. That's awesome. Did the gates work? Like the electric?
No, so the thing is, the previous owner.
Yeah.
She got divorced and really let the house go.
Oh, that sucks.
So there was a fire at that gate. Hold on. So it needs to be fixed. But we plan on redoing the driveway because it's really messed up.
I hear you.
So-
But nice piece of property.
Yeah,
Yeah, very nice.
Great right back before COVID, and the prices were crazy.
Yeah, you bought it at the right time. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, definitely.
Good stuff. No, it's fun. I love going to the North Shore, the Gold Coast. But yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, now it's impossible to buy something out here.
No, yeah, not
My
happening.
brother-in-law was looking for something, and he's like, I wish I was smart like you guys back then. I'm like, a lot of people do.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
So
Let's see what it's doing.
When I looked at the pilot,
12.9.
it was
Oh,
pretty
it's
well.
going down though. 11.5. Huh. Yeah, but now it's 12.9. 12.9. 13.8. I wonder that if normally you'd see it like when, based on experience, I see that as something running for a while and then turns off. A lot of times it's like electrical,
Yeah.
right? Like that control is just like, okay, I had enough, and believe it, it'd be the last thing you would change or
Yeah.
check, but it's that generally.
Yeah.
Did you Google what the solution is, or you just came up with me?
No, so I mean, you were part of it.
Yeah.
Like, I went like Burnham Series 2.
Yep.
Boiler.
ERR
ERR
63. Yep.
I don't know 4 first because 63 came up later. So then there was this web page saying, "Oh, clean out the pilot."
Yes.
I did that in Word. I mean, I was like, "All right, how do I get to the pilot?" I don't even know. So then I was like, "How do you get to the pilot?" Then your video came up, and then it was like 12:30 at night. I was like, you know what?
11.6. 11.6. 12.2. 10.8. Huh. 12.2. 12.3. So as I was saying, like about 10 minutes ago, that I'm not a parts changer, right? I'm not just going to replace a part until I actually can verify the issue.
Yeah.
But you obviously have a problem because that's why I'm here. That's why you're paying me a boatload of money to be here.
Yeah.
But it's one of two things. It's either going to be that a dirty pilot assembly, which we can clean, and hopefully that goes away, or the control. Now, there was an issue with the Series 2 boilers and then the earlier ES2 series boilers that have the more rounded front, that some even have a display module in it, where the pilot assembly was recalled. And a lot of people were getting, like, after a year or two operation, you know, a weak pilot signal, you know, it wouldn't sense the flame anymore. And regardless of how many times you clean it, it still needed to be replaced. The whole pilot assembly needed to be replaced, and which includes the little wiring that goes to the control board itself and what have you. But it's been, you know, I haven't replaced one of those because they're all been replaced.
Yeah.
We're talking about like almost 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah, it's been working for
Yeah.
this for
10-2.
9 years now.
yeah, 9.85. So we are going down. 9.45. 9.58. 9.27. 9.98. 8.45. That's 8.54. Sorry. 9.33. We are going down. Let's see if it's going to give us still an 8. Yep, still an 8. Back to FLA. 9.1, 8.75. I'm gonna watch that. 827, 642. Look at that. 810, 723. So we're slowly going down in that temperature. I mean, sorry, that flame current. 732. We were at 15, 671, and now we're in the 6s and 7s.
Well, at least we're seeing an issue.
Yes, we're verifying it. Let's see if we have a.
You know, sometimes I've had this thing where if there's an issue, you call somebody and the problem.
I know, it's like going to the dentist or the
Yeah.
doctor. The problem goes away.
Exactly. I'm happy at least, you know, we see something.
68, 599, yeah. 222, 218. Let's go to STA. We're going to STA 8. Let's go back to FLA. 231, 144. Look at that, 184. Okay, now we're going to go to STA and watch that number. We're still on an 8. It's going to drop out soon. I got my money on the control, but 163, 191, 198, 168, 161, 141, 174. STA, still showing that 8. All right. Let's go to the truck and get some parts. All right, we have an FLA of 353. Let's shut the system down and put our gloves on, remove the combustion chamber plate, and pull out that pilot assembly. Oh, it's hot. Mucho caliente. Burning my rubber gloves. Burning my leather gloves, sorry. Let's just put that against there. Let that cool off. It looks pretty clean. Let's be smart about this. Loosen up the pilot assembly burner tubing. There we go. All right. Let's pop this screw out. We have our ground wire and the igniter wire right there. Let's see. Some of these burners out. Just so we can get in there. Take that screw out. Okay. You know what? I'm not going to mess around. I'm just going to change this bad boy. All right, I have the new Resideo pilot burner. This is how it comes out of the box, with this piece as well. We're going to take that off. I'm going to use the insulated one. Yeah, perfect. If you've done one, you've done many. Let's unwrap this. cooled off now. Perfect. All right, let's get you in there and in there. Come on. It's still very hot.
You have some gloves?
I have. The system's now cooler, so I'm not too worried about the temperature. But before, when I first turned it off, it was hot. It was burning the leather on the gloves. So yeah, hot, very hot. All right, reconnect pilot, and then combustion chamber cover. Plug it in. Hope for the best. This one is being stubborn here. There we go. Just move around the pilot tubing so it goes on finger tight. Okay. Let's get that combustion chamber cover back on. Let's get the rollout switch wiring back into place. Making sure the wiring doesn't touch anything metal. Okay, the ground wire. This is the old pilot burner. Here's the new one. Plug that into there. All right. All right. One zone is no longer on. It's zone 5, whatever that is.
Probably got warm enough. Zone 5.
Error 57. What did I not plug back in? Error 57. Flame rod shorted to ground. Flame rod shorted to ground. Why? Yeah, it's shorted to ground. Would you look at that? Let's see. The spark rod is hitting the flame hood. All right. Change the... All right, flame rollout switch is in. Take 2. STA1. Let that cycle. STA4, STA6. Okay. We got ignition. Let's go to FLA. 11.3, right from the get-go. 18.9, 19.5, 19.5, 19. All right, now we gotta wait. 20.1, oh, much better from the get-go. Very nice, 24. And it was putting out, you saw it from the get-go, not a lot, and it went down to like 1 and 2 and 3. The new one is 20.1. 20.8. So you may have just got lucky and just had to have this replaced, and it never was replaced before. But this also stresses the importance of having proper maintenance. Like, can I clean this? Yes. Could I waste more time here doing that? Absolutely. Do I want to? Absolutely not. But it looks original, and the boiler is from 2017. So the boiler is 9 years old. 8 years old, maybe. You know, yes, the part's not cheap, but labor's more. Yeah. So Now you're still at 20.5. Before, you're already slowly starting to drop, 21.2. So hopefully that's it. But this stresses maintenance, that's needed on these type of equipment. The this pressure gauge. Do I need to have this accurate? I don't need to have it accurate. It's nice to have an accurate gauge. It's nice that there's a drip leg on there so no one gets like blasted with scalding hot water should this thing let out. Because if that was really 31 PSI, that would be leaking like crazy. But you have these 2 expansion tanks, Why are there 2? Because, they didn't have one the right size. These are number 30s, based on the size of the system, you may need a 60 or even a 90, which a 60 is double the depth or the depthness of this, and the 90s sits on the floor sometimes. These are giant expansion tanks, so.
Well, we had a lot of air come in the system a lot.
Yeah.
Frequently. So last year they changed that other one out.
That expansion tank, yeah.
They changed this one out and then.
Yeah, so you have this beautiful, tremendous home. You got this giant boiler. You got these water heaters, right? And you look at how this boiler was installed, and to the untrained eye, it looks fine. Yeah. It looks nice, neat, and organized until you see that, right? Even like, oh, that's just holding up the piping, right? But to a trained eye, that's just hackery, right? But what you're really missing here is the means for air removal at the volume that this machine needs. Exactly. You're relying on a silver little thing right there called an automatic air vent that you find on baseboard and radiators, right? You should have an air scoop, right? And if you look at the manual for this boiler, there's an air scoop before all the zones, and below the air scoop is it means for expansion, which is where your fresh water comes in for replenishment, for purging and things like that. But you don't have that. You have this quite an expensive system.
I actually somebody told me that. And I've been asking people for prices, but nobody's ever given me.
Yeah, but you know why? Because it's expensive. Like everything has to get shifted over, or you got to get creative. I would get creative. I would properly support all these zones here from the ceiling. I would take off the elbow there, or actually there's a T right there. I would somehow add the air scoop there, the air separator, and then loop back around and then connect to there with a union. So I can, because everything gets threaded together. And then you would have an air scoop there. Then I would bring the makeup water below the air separator and the expansion tank somewhere piped beyond that. But what is that going to cost? Thousands of dollars, realistically. Thousands of dollars. Realistically, probably factoring all this stuff in and the piping and maybe having to purge all these zones, which you're going to have to do anyway, and the right means of expansion, the right expansion tanks, maybe $4,500 it's labor intensive, right? And then God forbid something breaks, along the way, I'm like, okay, I need more money from you. There's got to be a contingency in there, which is part of the cost of doing business. But, and then that pressure gauge is nothing. But in order to change the pressure gauge, you got to shut down the system. In order to shut down the system, I got to drain the pressure out of it, and then the possibility of air coming into the systems. And now where the fresh makeup water is not in the ideal location. So it's like you could be fighting time and wasting your time over and over and over and over again. We are at 18.4, 18.7. We're going to monitor this. And hopefully we don't need to replace that boiler control. All right, ladies and gentlemen, total time on site, 1 hour and 20. And no, folks, in case you're wondering, everyone pays the same rate. I don't care if you live in a bungalow in the hood or a 20,000 square foot mansion on the Gold Coast. You all pay the same price. We don't milk the clock, but we deliver prompt, professional, courteous, and reliable service at Pipe Doctor Home Services. I wish the guy lived a little bit closer, because now I got to drive another 40 minutes to get back to where I need to be for my next call. If you live in the Long Island area and you're tired of getting bamboozled by your HVAC contractor, you know what to do. Pick up the phone, give us a call, 516-348-6300. Thanks for watching. Be well. God bless. Stay safe.